It is midnight in the modern world. Somewhere, a city glows like a circuit board, but further back, before all this, there was only firelight, teeth in the dark, and a silence broken by screams. This is not a story about generals or kings. It's not about battlefields or famous last stands. It is about something older, stranger, it's far more unsettling. The origins of war. Before war had names or glory. Before it was written into books or carved into stone, it was simply a decision. A decision to kill another group. And that decision, buried deep in the bones of our past, tells us something haunting about what it means to be human. Let's begin at the beginning, not with the civilization, but with the creatures that became. Part 1. Before war had a name, 2 million. 300,000 BCE, in the early Pleistocene epoch, the African continent was changing. Forests were shrinking, grasslands stretched wide, and our ancestors, Homo habilis, later Homo erectus, began adapting to a new world that demanded movement, cooperation, and competition. These early humans lived in small, mobile groups. They made stone tools, tased, hunted, and likely defended their kills from predators and rival groups. But were they violent? Archaeological evidence from this period is sparse. We have scattered bones, a few skulls. Some appear damaged, cracked, fractured, pierced. Some researchers argue these wounds are evidence of violence. Others suggest they are simply the result of time, crushed by earth, gnawed by animals, broken by accident. Still, the possibility lingers. Did early humans kill one another? And if so, why? Perhaps it wasn't war. Perhaps it was survival. A fight over water, dispute over food, an act of desperation, not strategy. But even in these uncertain hints, we begin to see the outlines of something darker forming. Part 2. The chimpanzee mirror. Understand ourselves. We often look at those closest to us, not in distance, but in DNA. Chimpanzees share over 98% of our genetic material, and in the wild, their behavior offers a disturbing mirror in places like Gombe and Njogo in Central Africa. Researchers have documented chimpanzee groups engaging in what can only be described as calculated, lethal violence. Patrols enter rival territories. Lone males are ambushed. The attacks are silent, deliberate, and often fatal. Why do they do it? The reasons are chillingly logical. More territory means more food. Fewer rival males mean more mating opportunities. Violence becomes a strategy, one that increases survival odds for the group. Some scholars call this proto-warfare. Others resist labeling animal behavior with human terms. But one thing is clear. The roots of group-based violence run deep. And if our evolutionary cousins act this way, what does that say about us? Part 3. Hints in the dirt. 1,800,000 minus 300,000 BCE. As Homo erectus spread across Africa and into Eurasia, they carried more than fire and stone tools. They carried memory, social bonds, and perhaps grudges in South Africa's Sterkfontein caves. Some hominin skulls, dated to over 1 million years ago, show signs of cranial trauma. Could these be the oldest murder cases in human history? We may never know, but as our ancestors became more mobile, more social, and more capable, so too did their capacity for conflict grow. There were no wars yet, but there were surely standoffs, tensions, moments where two groups met, and only one walked away. Part 4. Burial grounds and broken skulls. 300,000. 50,000 BCE, with the emergence of archaic Homo sapiens, and eventually Homo sapiens. Sapiens. Something shifted. Our ancestors began to bury their dead. They created tools with precision. They shaped the land with fire, and the evidence of violence became harder to ignore. At the site of Jebel Sahaba in modern-day Sudan, Archaeologists discovered a cemetery dated to around 13,000 years ago. Many of the individuals buried there show signs of violent death, embedded projectile points, fractures, trauma. This wasn't one murder. This was repeated violence, possibly the earliest known massacre in human history. Why? Resources, perhaps. Climate change had made the region less hospitable. Groups may have clashed over access to water or land. But whatever the reason, the pattern had emerged. We were no longer just individuals hurting each other. We were groups targeting groups, and that is the heart of war. Part 5. The Rise of Memory. 50,000 minus 10,000 BCE. By the time of the Upper Paleolithic, human beings were storytelling creatures. We painted on cave walls. We buried our dead with care. We sang, carved, danced, and we remembered. Memory changes violence. When an attack is remembered, not just as pain, but as insult, it becomes a seed, passed down through stories, sharpened into fear, hardened into hate. Some researchers argue that this is the real beginning of war, not just violence, but violence with memory. In these late hunter-gatherer societies, conflict became more organized. Groups formed alliances. Some grew larger than others. Dominance hierarchies formed, and when groups clashed, they did so not only to survive, but to send a message. Part 6. Neolithic Warfare, 10,000 minus 3,000 BCE. The Neolithic Revolution changed everything. With the invention of agriculture, humans began to settle. They built permanent homes, stored food, raised animals. For the first time, humans had something to protect and something to steal. And with that, war as we know it began. Settlements like Jericho show signs of early fortification. Walls, ditches, towers. Graves from this period often include weapons. Mass graves suggest organized slaughter, but it wasn't all brute force. This was also the era of strategy. Groups began planning raids, forming militias. Some communities developed social classes, with warriors at the top. Others traded goods for protection. War had become systemic, a part of how society functioned, and though it would continue to evolve with bronze, chariots, empires, the core dynamic was now in place. Conclusion: what war reveals war is not a glitch in the human system. It's not something we invented recently. It's a feature baked into our species. It's a long story, but that doesn't mean it's inevitable. We are also capable of cooperation, of peace, of remembering harm and choosing not to repeat it. The same memory that fuels revenge can also fuel compassion. The same intelligence that builds weapons can build bridges. Understanding the origins of war is not about glorifying violence. It's about recognizing how deep it goes and how much responsibility we have to not be ruled by it. So, when you hear someone say, war is human, remember, so is ending it. We've done it before. We can do it again. And maybe, just maybe, the future doesn't have to echo the past. Stay curious. Stay calm. Let's keep going.